So we've got an interesting show for you guys tonight, and we're going to hit a couple of different topics. We actually have a handful of topics, but there was no way that we could go into this show without talking about Charlie Kirk. Um, Not necessarily someone I would normally have talked much about, but with all the events that have happened this week, we kind of have to, right? And I know, Scott, this is even your favorite topic, but because he's so influential in terms of the Christian nationalists and the right wing Christian sort of force, we have to talk about it. So, and that's actually one of the reasons I brought Rhett on. As you may know, by looking at the other three of us, none of us are kids. Rhett's not a kid, but he is 27, right? Rhett, 27?
I am, yeah, 28.
Yeah. So you're far closer to Charlie Kirk's target audience than any of the three of us are, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
I was in high school and middle school during his big rise. I think he started in like 2012 with Turning Point USA.
it's been that long. Oh, damn. Okay.
No.
I was familiar with him by name, and I've seen a few things online, enough to know that, like, okay, this is not a guy I need to spend a lot of time worrying about. But at the same time, I'll be honest and transparent. I don't think I understood the level of influence he had, or how big he had grown. And when I reached out to you yesterday just to kind of chat with you and find out your thoughts about it, you sort of brought that to my attention. This guy's way bigger, and obviously the news has made it a lot bigger. And I realized, oh, this is a much bigger deal than I thought of. So let me give you, Rhett, a few minutes just to give your first impressions. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but your first impressions on what you and, say, people your age, your peers, thought of him as in terms of where he is in your universe of people that you're aware of and follow or understand. So go ahead and I'll let you have the mic on that.
So Charlie Kirk is. I don't think it would be that much of a stretch to say that he was sort of the king or one of the largest, if not the largest, online conservative. He built the online conservative movement, as I know it for sure, through 2012 and absolutely after 2016, whenever Trump won for the first time. Basically, every single person that's right of center has interacted with him and been on his show or spoken at a Turning Point USA event. From, Trump, of course, now, but basically everybody's starting up, right? Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens. Heck, I think Candace Owens started at Turning Point USA. Matt Walsh. The list goes on and on and on. And nowadays, or well, just recently, he's talked to basically every lawmaker with an ounce of influence in the world, right? Everyone from Vivek Ramaswamy to Greg Gutfeld, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, J.D. Vance, Matt Gaetz. He's had, the guy has tendrils that go all the way to the heights and lows of Republican power.
Yeah. So. And he used to go to a lot of colleges. I know you're just wrapping up college here in a few months. Has he ever been to your college or that you're aware of?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so you've never seen him in person or anything like that?
I haven't. Right? No. Okay. He's definitely been to Florida for sure.
Well,
I don't know if he's visited UNF.
What's that?
I don't know if he's ever been to UNF. Let me see.
I'm not really aware about how big he was, but it sounds like that was kind of his shtick, right? He would go to colleges and he would ramp up.
Yeah. So he innovated that, right? As far as I know, that like he would come out with the table and it said, "Not change my mind," but he had something else. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And he did that. Before Ben Shapiro, before Steven Crowder, before that. He's been doing the college tour thing where he went and debated college students for long time.
Okay. So, and again, I know, obviously I know you since you're my nephew, but within your friend group, and I'm not telling tales out of school here. You're in Florida. You and I both grew up in Florida, which is a relatively, in our certain area of Florida, is very conservative, and your town is very conservative. So within the people you knew, went to high school with, and go to college with, how was he thought of?
Whenever I was online Republicans are weird because they're for until very recently with the tail end of Trump here, they weren't really incorporated into the mainstream like the news cycle and lawmakers and everything like that. So whenever I was growing up in high school and everything like that, you had to be a pretty online person to know who Kirk was. But if you were political and online, you absolutely he was the biggest figure there for sure.
Okay.
On the right at least.
So you
Um,
think it's not like your average student or average young person, it's
I mean,
the
also, right, if
more
you were talking at
informed?
school, like at the lunch table or whatever, your big talk was going to be on like Mitt Romney and Hillary Clinton and stuff like that, because those were the big like real figures and everything like that. And then you had to
Okay.
like kind of go under the surface a bit to start talking about the online internet people.
Is that true still today, or is that only back when?
No, I think this is kind of turned. I think Kirk kind of broke through, and now that I mean the Republicans for sure with oh, who's that guy? Oh no, I've totally forgotten his name. But they've understood the power of the internet and they've incorporated it a lot more. And I think Kirk and people like Joe Rogan are a lot more prominent than they ever were whenever I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a fair assessment of that. So let me go with this sort of first question here. I'll just throw this out to the group. Um, what do you think the ramifications? I'm reading this for the podcast too, but with Charlie Kirk's murder and the ramifications, what do you think the ramifications are on society of just him and the murder itself? And again, this is to the group, so anybody jump out.
Sure, I can
Or
go.
nobody.
Well, really bad, obviously. Anytime anybody gets killed, it's really, really bad. And Kirk supposedly was killed, or I mean, presumably was killed for his speech and his views and his thoughts and everything like that, which is
Mhm.
like the worst reason to get killed.
Agree.
For speech and stuff like that. So, I mean, if that's the where we're, if that's the direction we're headed for, as a country, where people are being killed for their speech, it's very, very, very bad, very bad. Even if I disagree with Kirk's views and everything like that.
Agreed.
I'm actually going to flip over to the other side. You made the comment that whenever anybody's killed, it's like very important. It's not to some people. It depends on who that person is. Because just a few months back, we had Democratic lawmakers in, I think, Wisconsin that were summarily executed by a very right-wing individual. Two sets of lawmakers and their spouses. Another place very recently, a guy just got 80 years for orchestrating drive-by shootings at his Democratic opposition, and like he got 80 years and like online doxing and just all this other stuff, and literally orchestrating shootings at their house. And when you talk about, it's important when these things happen, Nancy Pelosi's husband, an octogenarian, in the middle of the night was assaulted by someone with political motivations with a hammer.
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk got on international streaming services and tried to rally his troops to pay that person's bail.
Yes.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Sure.
So, couple of thoughts I've had. He was a fairly prominent person, but it's almost like internet famous.
Yeah.
A lot of people knew who he was.
Yeah.
Said a lot of outrageous and hateful things.
Oh yeah.
Supported a lot of the wrong side of history. But I don't think if you compare him to, say, Martin Luther King, he has, as far as I know, zero quotable quotes. And I think the event is shocking. I mean, an assassination by a sniper, highly unusual. So the event itself is fresh in everyone's minds. It's a shocking thing. It's kind of a pinpoint in history. I go, oh yeah, I remember that. That was an assassination. I think within a certain amount of time, whether it's 5 years, 20 years, whatever, he'll be no more than a footnote. Nothing he has said will be specifically remembered nobody will be quoting him. And it'll just be, oh, guy was assassinated. He was pretty young. It was shocking. Nobody will remember it.
Well,
Nobody
so my
will revere it.
so my worry in that direction is what this justifies from Trump. You make the comparison to Martin Luther King. I'm wondering if the guy might be Franz Ferdinand, if this will trigger a bunch of other stuff, and then Trump goes crazy with the military or whatever, and this is like the match that ignites him going completely crazy and like starting to become like a full-on dictatorship. I mean, I don't know if we're there yet,
the
but
Reichstag fire, the match that lit the Reichstag fire. I mean,
I don't think he had enough substance or official power to be that type of martyr. I think he'll be a martyr, but I think he'll be like an online martyr. People will refer to him. Oh yeah, remember Charlie Kirk? And then 10, 15 years from now, everybody we'll have to be reminded that he existed and have to look up what he stood for.
I was going to say the same thing about Rush Limbaugh, and that meme has gone around exactly. But that was Rush Limbaugh was a huge name and a huge platform. He wrote books, and he was millions of people listened to him, and then he died, and he's never spoken to. I mean, I probably mentioned his name more in this context of having been forgotten than anything else, because it's now, of course, he was on the radio, and anybody who's on the radio talking in the moment passes, and they're kind of done anyways. But like you said,
that's
is he
kind
quotable?
of my point.
No.
Nobody's quoting Rush Limbaugh. People are quoting Hitchens. People are quoting Martin Luther King Jr. People are quoting John F. Kennedy because they had real substance.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
They weren't
I
just
do kind of wonder if that's because because Martin Luther King won, in a sense. He got the Civil Rights Act and he made incredible strides. If he hadn't, would he have been forgotten? Like if he did everything that he did and did all of his protests, and then we never passed the Civil Rights Act, we remained racist. Would anybody have remembered him?
Well, I think the other thing about, say, Martin Luther King was that he had, for lack of a better term on a show like this, disciples who then went on out into the world and accomplished things and did things. Several government officials, we all know them and have seen them, and they started lots of organizations to help people and try to fight for the right. Charlie Kirk, in my mind, I could be wrong because I didn't follow him very closely. It was just kind of on my periphery. Didn't have that. He was just kind of a lone guy out there that had a big following.
Yeah. I'm going to just, because we got a bunch of comments, and I make sure I acknowledge people. Randy's on there, Mike's on there. Spark, thank you for joining. And Godspeed, I just want to bring this one up, and people can kind of see it in the right-hand corner there, but Godspeed, I'm going to read this out again for the people that are listening instead of watching. Charlie Kirk wanted to sit down and talk about it. The left chose violence in response, plain and simple. No amount of he says cope, but no amount of cope and gaslighting is going to change it. See ya, fuckheads. So I guess we've exhausted Godspeed's patience with us.
That's true. Have you never seen cope used like that before? I feel like I see it like 70 times a day.
Yeah, it is not.
Yeah, cope and seethe is like the classic.
Okay, that's the new phrasing for me in terms of how he's using that.
All right, may I?
You're welcome to. Now, hold on, before you go, Scott. I do want to make this very, 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 very clear so that no one misunderstands us from the get-go. And I don't know where you're going with this, guy, so I'm going to just say this out. As Rhett said, and as I have said, and I'm going to let you guys make your own opinions on this, I do not in any way condone what happened to him. Rhett and I were talking before the show. Two things can be true at once. Charlie Kirk can say some absolutely abhorrent and terrible, disgusting things. I can condemn that. And I can condemn shooting the man, because he did just say things I absolutely cannot agree with. But we don't shoot people for their opinions. And unfortunately, it's going to perhaps backfire. We'll get back into this again. But nobody's condoning the violence in the sense that what happened to him. At least I'm not. Rhett was not. Scott and Larry, I'll let you guys make your own opinions. But I do want to put that out there. So don't anybody come for me thinking that that's what we're doing. And Godspeed, I'm going to disagree with that, but I'll let Scott have first crack at his at your opinion there, Godspeed.
Yeah, Let's take the first sentence. Charlie Kirk wanted to sit down and talk about it. Charlie Kirk wanted to sit down and talk about absolutely abhorrent things that he wanted his sycophants and followers to do. Charlie Kirk talked about how God's perfect law said that queer people should be put to death. Mm-hmm. Charlie Kirk specifically said, I'm a very empathetic person. Charlie Kirk said he didn't even believe empathy was a thing. It was some new age wokeness. Charlie Kirk said that the Second Amendment was worth babies dying in schools. So to stop it, he wanted to sit down and talk about it is intellectual dishonesty and cowardice. I don't even agree with people shouldn't be killed for their opinions being used when it comes to Charlie Kirk. He wasn't killed because he had an opinion. If he was killed for political motivations, it was because of a movement that he started. That is why people like him and influencers like him can rush the Capitol building. They can build gallows for Mike Pence.
Hang Mike Pence.
They can try to kidnap Gretchen
Whitmer.
Gretchen Whitmer. I almost called her Gretchen Wilson. But
she's a redneck girl.
No.
Yeah.
The left chosen violence in response. We were just talking earlier about Charlie Kirk encouraging his patriots to help bail out the man, the right-wing Trump supporter who tried to assault an 80-year-old man in his underwear in the middle of the night, posted videos about it, and then laughed about it.
Yeah.
No. Don't talk about the left choosing violence. The left is the one that wants less guns to begin with. Charlie Kirk is the one saying that there are reasons to not pay as much attention or do anything about gun control when it's the number one killer of children in this country. That comment right there is as dishonest and cowardice as you get. But the problem right now is that so many people are repeating the same demonstrably false bullshit. That's all I have to say about that. I'm holding back, Mike.
I know you are. I can feel it. I can feel it through the screen. I do want to add another comment here from Crisp. Also, Crisp, welcome to the show. So Crisp says, whoops, I hit the wrong button. Sorry. Too many things are hopping up. This Crisp, I don't really get the point here. Let's look at the evidence. Kirk is way better and awarded the master debater in 2020. I don't know why that matters. That's like me saying I was employee of the month at Public Supermarket. What does that mean? I don't even know why master debater is.
That doesn't mean he was right.
No, I don't. That's a really. But I wanted Crisp. I wanted you to get. You'll see as you're new to the show. I think we will respect you having the right to have an opinion. And I will put them up on the screen very often. Not every comment because it's just too many. So I wanted to make sure you were seen. I don't understand your point, but I do thank you for jumping on. A couple of things. He was good for free speech, and his death was sad, but I disagree with the things he said. That's from Spark. I agree. Free speech is totally fine, and he should not have been killed. But I can still disagree with him. Both things can be true at once, right? Gosh, Mike, everybody's got Mike. Mike, what were you saying here? Kirk had a hit list to squelch Heather Cox. I don't know who those people are. Heather Cox Richardson and some of her contemporaries. Who is Heather Cox Richardson?
Maybe it's 3 different names. I
don't know. Mike, could you explain that? Yeah, I don't know.
I know that Cox is the first name of the governor of Utah, but
I know that too.
But he's super hardcore Republican, so I don't know.
But wait, didn't he have a professor watch list? I think I remember seeing.
He did. Yeah, that was a big thing that he started early on.
That was talking about the professor watch list that ended up having the people that were on it. Oh, sweetie, no.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had this list of professors and stuff, and they were getting doxxed. They were getting threatened online.
Oh, yeah,
they were having, that may be who it is right there.
So one of the first things that he did, like, I mean, literally later when he was like 16, 17, one of the first big things that he did was he wrote a big paper about left-leaning bias in textbooks, and that's how he got his first slot on Fox News. And then whenever he started Turning Point USA, yeah, he started that Professor Watch List. So he's had his eyes on, like school and how school is since the very, very first part.
Here we go. MJ again, the unknown, unseen, unheard God in the producer chair. That she is a professor at Boston College. So yeah, so that's fantastic. I'm not familiar with it, but it goes to what you guys were just saying. That this list of professors, that's apparently one of them. So yeah. Spark actually asked this question. You guys ever take call-ins? Not yet. It's only because of a technical limitation at the moment. But I want to get that figured out and handled. It just requires some extra technical stuff that we haven't quite put into the show yet. Just for that exact reason. I would love to have people actually interact with everybody. So tune in for future ones. I do want to get that as actually, because this would be a perfect one. And even for the people that disagree with me. But Spark, one reason I haven't rushed to do it is because debates, and I know this is a provocative show in a sense thus far, can get out of hand really, really quickly. And I don't want that to be the case. This isn't, there are a lot of atheist shows out there where people battle back and forth. That's just really not
people
who I
love
am.
their
I
blood
don't want to
sports.
do it. Yeah, exactly. People love their blood sports, right? And I don't want to do that. But we'll figure that out at some point. So, but that's a very good question. Who's Mike's a doctorate of history, friend of Robert Reich and Bernie. Okay, so that puts them in a class that helps me understand who they were. Wow, he's had a lot of great questions there. Kind of flew into it. And I'm going to get back to you, Scott. Your point earlier talked about empathy. I actually have that question comes up as an aside from this, but it's actually a really good question. So I'm looking through some of my questions here.
But one thing, let me just add real quick.
Go ahead while I'm listening. Yeah.
As far as the college thing, there is a new narrative I saw yesterday being spun by the right that once they found out, he was Mormon, he was conservative, Trump voting family. I mean, in Utah, you can hardly not be. And
right.
The spin they're putting on it now is, well, he went to college for one semester and then he was radicalized leftist in that one semester.
So you better watch out. The electrical engineering program at Utah State is radicalizing people.
Yeah. So they're both sides spin things, and
yes. Both sides spin things for sure. And that I've seen that same thing that everybody, he got radicalized in college, but he went to a semester of college.
Well, and then that wasn't the most recent thing, right? That was like 4 years ago. And then he went to, electrician school. To be
an electrician. Yeah. Which is, and Scott, since you're in the electrical field, you can tell me, I don't think of liberalism being a hotbed on the job site. And, I think it would come to a lot of surprise to a lot of tradesmen that they're being radicalized as they're in their apprentice programs for electricians and roofers and plumbers and everything else. Maybe I'm wrong. You work in that environment. You tell me.
Let me say this. I went on
electricians with a left hard bias.
I went on Amazon to order a part for an electrical project that I was working on, something very specific and very electrical construction-y. And they have the suggested other items to buy and suggested podcasts and stuff. And on this little clip that I was buying that is specifically an electrical construction thing, all of the podcasts were like Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate, Mike Shapiro, even Charlie Kirk. Yeah. And I'm so, once you're in that electrical program, that's not.
Well, I mean, I feel like the right has been shouting that forever, oh man, you can't go to college, man. They're all a bunch of liberals. You got to go into a trade,
That was my thing.
So what happened?
Right. It seems like, so basically you're saying just don't do anything after 12th grade, If radicalized in trade school, like what is left? I don't know what's after. If you don't go to college and you go to trade school instead, if you're saying all of these are radicalized, of course we're making a joke of that, but the reality is they just don't even bother to look up the facts, right?
No.
They don't care. They heard college, and I've actually got a clip on this a little bit later, where that's, in fact, let's go ahead and play this real quick. Hold on just a second. You guys look.
You heard the family member say that this man became more political, this young man became more political in recent years. Well, what did he do in recent years? He went to college. That's where kids are getting radicalized. It's not just online. Our campuses are where a lot of radicalization, hate, and intolerance starts from. And so when he says it's an attack on all of us, I'm going to say this. No, it's an attack on conservatives. It's an attack on Christians.
Yeah, Utah State University, within the top most conservative colleges in the United States. And he did go there for one semester, is in Utah. And
they're just mad because he didn't go to PragerU.
What's
That's
that?
it. They're just mad because he didn't go to PragerU.
Exactly. I know. Was Liberty not taking anybody at the time?
Well, if that's true, then they would have to explain my personal situation, because my father was very conservative and very Trump supporting, and he's a pastor and a police officer. So way out to the right.
Yeah,
I didn't go to college.
Mm-hmm.
So how did I become radicalized?
Yeah, how did you become
Like-
radicalized? Well, yeah, I mean, of the four of us on the screen right now, two of us have gone to college. I don't think, Scott, you do, right? And Larry, you just said you didn't. I can't remember, Scott, if you had or not. I don't remember. But yeah, and we here all have reached the same conclusion, not from college, and we went to different colleges at different times. So it's a ridiculous statement. And I'm going to address GNX here a little bit to a degree. They've already probably checked out, and that's fine. GNX, again, thank you for your comments. But I'm going to read it again for the podcast. Watch Babylon Bee, a liberal goss back in time to kill Hitler. Okay. I probably won't, but thanks for offering it. I'm off to watch David Wood. Don't know who that is. Whilst you atheists can explain to Charlie Kirk's 1- and 3-year-old daughters why daddy isn't coming home. Okay. Can you also explain that to the other 100 and some people that have been shot and killed this week in America? Can you explain it to the however many kids that were killed 3 weeks ago or whatever it was at the Catholic Church? Can you explain it to Columbine? Can you explain it to Sandy Hook? Can you explain it? Can you explain it? Can you explain it to every child and adult and everybody that's been killed because of guns, regardless of their political affiliation or any of this other nonsense that we're talking about that's affiliated? Because he has a 1-year-old and 3-year-old, I'm terribly sad for that. I have had a 1-year-old and 3-year-old. They're grown kids now. But that doesn't make it more or less tragic. So this is one of those comments that people throw out to try to pull at your heartstrings. You're missing the point. You're missing the entire point. I can dislike the man and want nothing to happen to his children. I don't want his children to be fatherless. That's a ridiculous statement. So GNX, obviously, we're going to disagree on this comment, but again, giving you a platform. Thanks for joining. Or whatever that was worth. All right.
Well, I mean, somebody mentioned it earlier. I mean, if you want to know how the people feel, just look at the reactions to this. If you go and look at any left-leaning lawmaker or any person on the left, I mean, Barack Obama says that this is, a tragedy. This should have never happened. Joe Biden's calling for, no more violence. This is insane. We shouldn't be assassinating people. We need to change the gun laws. But then you go over to the conservative side, and they're saying this is war. We need to get vengeance. We hate this person. We need to go crazy. I mean,
Yes.
We have to have more
one
fathers.
side is asking for empathy and we want to make some change, and the other side says we need to start get guns and fight back. I mean,
It's yeah.
So that,
Go ahead,
that
Larry.
last commenter apparently is not taking the next step and going, well, the right is calling for retribution and revenge and a war, like you said. So how many more fatherless 1- and 3-year-olds do they want to make? It doesn't matter.
Right.
To them, they don't care because they're on the left.
I would rather see fatherless 1- and 3-year-olds from a father who pushed back against gun control than a child lose their 1- and 3-year-old when we're trying to do something about it and nothing has been done.
And nothing
If you
happened.
want to know how to explain this to Charlie Kirk's children, you don't have a dad, but you have a Second Amendment right, and that's everything your dad stood for. So his death, I don't see how that could be a negative thing if it was exactly what he preached about, that the deaths of innocents were needed so we could support the Second Amendment. He became a martyr And these are his quotes. I'm not even making this up. You can't get mad at somebody that doesn't have empathy for him when he's the one that said empathy is not a thing. You can't get mad at somebody who says they can't be mad at the shooter because you're the one preaching that shooting innocent people is okay enough that we don't change our Second Amendment because of it.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's what it comes back to, right? If two
those
people
are his
have their
exact
foot on
words.
if two people have their foot on a gas pedal and one person says, you know, I believe in civility, I'm going to take my foot off the gas, it doesn't change anything. We need Donald Trump to get up there and say that the violence needs to end. We need the Republican leaders to come out and say that there can be no more violence. They need to disavow this completely. And until they do that, then, I mean, you know, their violence is only going to continue. They're only going to continue to ratchet up the temperature.
I'm gonna run a clip because you guys just brought up where I was gonna go with this at some point, anyways. But this instant jump to conclusions and this sense of just outrage, and outrage is probably an appropriate response, but not the way this is done. So let's watch this for clip, and then we'll comment on the other side.
Mother fucking animals!
I should have warned the language.
You liberal, progressive, deranged fucking animals! Animals!
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today.
This is such bullshit. I've never been so pissed in my whole life. I just murdered Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right
Despite not knowing who the shooter was, without a single lead, the outrage machine went into overdrive. People like the woman we just saw earlier, politicians, pundits, even the president of the United States rushed to point a finger. The left was blamed. Half the country was indicted for a crime no one yet understood. But the call was coming from inside the house. The shooter was a 22-year-old white male, raised in a Republican home, registered to vote with no party affiliation. He had one semester of college. His grandmother, Debbie Robinson, desperate to emphasize their loyalty to Trump, said this: "My son," his dad, "is a Republican for Trump. Most of my family members are Republicans. I don't know a single one who's a Democrat. I'm just so confused." Now let's turn to Utah Governor Spencer Cox and hear what he has to say now that the shooter has been identified and their background is understood a little bit more.
This bad stuff happens. And for 33 hours, I was praying that if this had to happen here, that it wouldn't be one of us, that somebody drove from another state, somebody came from another country. Sadly, that prayer was not answered the way I had hoped for, just because I thought it would make it easier on us if we could just say, hey, we don't do that here. But it did happen here, and it was one of us.
So that was the Cox guy. He's the governor of Utah. Was actually fairly reasonable throughout all this, and he's dealing with a lot. I mean, it can't be easy to be a governor in a state like this. But his point was, I thought, was interesting at the very end there. You saw the unhinged, crazy lady at the beginning, and it just kept getting. And this was all like Wednesday, and the Mace, what's his name, Trump. This was all before we had any idea what's going on. Just instantly blaming the left, and it may even turn out to be that the guy was left. We don't really know because nothing's really known yet. But what does it matter when you're trying? I think Red or Sky, you're talking about, let's ratchet it down just a bit, for goodness sakes. And then this guy comes out and says, like, I was praying it'd be one of them. It turned out it's one of us. Like, I mean, he was very reasonable, but I thought that statement was actually quite telling. You were praying it was one of them. It was somebody else, somebody that didn't look like him, somebody who was trans, maybe someone from out of the country. They were brown. He was asking for anybody, but it turns out, nope, just another white kid, living in Utah.
White and delightsome.
Yeah. It's that whole, the unhinged nature of the stuff I've been seeing online is outrageous. It's really crazy.
I just want to know if that guy that was praying for the shooter not to be one of them if he just kind of slid that in with praying for the children that had gotten murdered that day too.
The two, one or two that was
Yeah.
in Colorado.
The thing about Charlie Kirk is this is the most riled up that the right has been about every school shooting ever happened.
Yes. I mean, no one's flying flags at half-mast for the kids at the Catholic school or at any of these shootings, or any normal person. I mean, these people killed every day. Flying the flags.
I'm going to disagree. I think they did fly the flags at
Did
half
they?
staff for the kids at the Catholic school and Parkland.
Oh, did they for Parkland? Well, who was in office during Parkland? I don't remember.
Trump.
Quite frankly, was it Trump? I really. This is the bad thing. There's so many of them. I can't keep them straight. And I was watching something the other day in relation to this, and they mentioned a shooting, and I was like, I totally had forgotten about that. I mean, it just because they just fly by. I mean, the Catholic one, we did a live stream with Mike Gonzalez, 3 weeks ago or whatever. It's gone. It's not even in the news. No one talks about it. No one's going to care again. A year from now, we'll forget it even happened until whatever. I said this on something else with Charlie Kirk right now. He's got a lot of heat behind him. We talked about this early on in the conversation. Is this going to last? I don't know. We can't really predict that. Is it going to last just until the next shooting? And then we kind of forget about it? The only difference is this kid was captured. So we're going to have trials and everything else, going to keep it kind of on the public mind. But where do we go from this? And if no one's willing to ratchet it down and to bring it down a notch, my goodness. Can we sustain this? I mean, this is ridiculous, right? I do want to ask this question. Go ahead, Larry.
I do think that what we're seeing is the people who are so outraged, like we saw in that clip, because Charlie Kirk was doing something for me. He was speaking like they were thinking. He was emboldening them. Whereas when you get a bunch of dead school kids, that doesn't mean anything to them in the same way that someone who is out there provoking the left and owning the libs, because they're just the kids turn into just almost like a faceless mass, a group that we'll use them as something to refer to that we value, whether they do or not genuinely, but they did value and do value people like Charlie Kirk because they are out there pushing what they their ideas and it sounds great to them. So now that's been taken away from them.
Right. Well, it takes away that voice, and you like the emboldened word. We've used that for the last 10 years, since specifically.
And unless you're the actual parent of a kid who was killed, you haven't really lost anything when 20 kids die in a school shooting, you personally. But when someone you look up to, like Charlie Kirk, was killed, you've lost a huge part of your psyche. And
do you think it's just cult of personality sort of thing? We're none of us are, well, we're all old enough to, except for Rhett, to remember when John Lennon was killed, but I don't think any of us are old enough to have been like John Lennon wasn't our guy in the sense that, he meant as much as it is maybe the generation before us. We didn't grow up in the Beatlemania, right? So when he was killed, though, people were just crying. Maybe a little bit that way with Kurt Cobain, but not quite the same, not at John Lennon level. But it was the cult of personality because we all knew these people, right? These celebrities. Is that Charlie Kirk? Is he a celebrity that they know, and instead of a music they love a message, and it's no different than that? Or is it something different or deeper? What's your thoughts on that? Anybody?
Certainly not. He's nowhere near the power of personality that someone like John Lennon would have had. Even whenever I was a conservative in high school, and I watched like the anti-SJW YouTube videos, and I was in that world. I mean, Charlie Kirk wasn't thought of as like the coolest guy ever, and I really want to be him, and he's so cool, and I would be distraught if he died. He was just like he debated the college kids, and he totally owned them, right? I mean, it's so performative. The lady and everyone else. I don't believe that they're actually this distraught about the death of Charlie Kirk. Obviously, they're sad, and this is a huge blow for them politically. But this idea that everybody really loved Charlie and they're so devastated that he's gone is kind of I don't know about that.
So you think it's more performative?
Oh, absolutely. Especially for that lady and the guy running through the halls crying at the beginning. It takes a lot to set up your camera to script all that and like growl your voice and all that.
Right.
When I'm upset, I don't sound like I can't
At the
believe
same
you
time, I've
did
never
this
seen
to
anyone from the
Charlie
right.
Kirk. You know.
I've never seen anyone from the right use that type of passion when children are killed.
Yeah.
No, and people can dispute that,
Well,
but
right.
no.
Well, so you brought up Paul Pelosi earlier. Whenever Paul Pelosi was beaten half to death with a hammer, they were joking about it. It was so funny that somebody climbed the fence and did that. Ha ha ha. So I mean, no, it's complete performance art for them. They don't actually care about this. This is a big political dunk that they can do on us right now. Killed. But if it was the other way around, and it was a couple of months ago, whenever those lawmakers in Minnesota got killed, they would be laughing their asses off, and they wouldn't care at all.
And they did.
Yeah.
And they did.
And that's precisely why I don't think it'll last.
Well,
It's,
so what kind
remembering
of concerns me is that we've had a sort of string here. We've had January 6th, the Minnesota lawmakers, the Michael Crooks guy that shot Trump, the Paul Pelosi thing, and now this. They seem to come from a similar background where they really love Trump and they really love the Republicans, and they're terminally online. And then a few of them are from like QAnon, right, where they're like in the fringes of the Republicans and they're really crazy and they do really crazy, violent stuff. So I feel like that's like the omen of what's to come, that we're gonna have like an Ireland style, like unconnected acts of terror every few months, and we're just gonna have to do that until Trump does something.
I'm gonna hit two questions from Derek. Derek G, thanks for joining. I'm gonna hit two questions. He made two comments that I really wanted you guys to see. So I'm gonna do this last one, Derek, first. Just this is more of a comment. And he says, if it happened to say Destiny, it would be similarly shocking and unexpected. And Destiny is a left-wing TikToker, live streamer kind of guy. I don't know that he has the same level, but again, he's probably not my. I mean, I'm his target audience in the sense that I'm liberal, but he's probably not my age group, so I know who he is and I've seen his stuff. But Derek, I don't agree with you. I don't think that there's someone on the left that would create that level of passion, or as Rhett has said, this performance art. I don't think so. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
We just really don't. We just don't really do that on the left. We don't.
Not to that level.
I mean, we like people, and we have people that we rally around and everything.
Right.
But we don't. We just don't idealize like they do. They're on a whole other level of like pushing people up. Well, and then another problem is that this is, I hate to give any praise at all, but the right organizes like crazy. I mean, the moment they get any amount of influence or money together, they put together a political action group immediately. Kirk was super early on that, but the leftists, for whatever reason, they just don't do it. Maybe you've heard of Hassan. He's like the biggest Twitch streamer, and he's presumably on our side. He's a Democrat. He's left, but he doesn't do anything to further that cause. He like donates or whatever. But I mean, you have people like Kirk and even Nick Fuentes out here that are putting together like huge political action groups. Their number one thing is you have to register, we have to vote, we have to win at the ballot box, and then but it seems like over here on the Democratic side, you've got some stuff like Act Blue or whatever, or Gavin Newsom, who really want you to vote. But for the online left, I don't know. We just don't really.
I'm
don't
not
really
aware
care
of it.
about voting.
Yeah, well, maybe not, but you're right. To his credit, regardless, Kirk did a fantastic job of making what's the name, Turning Point, making that organization as big as it was, and he found his target audience in terms of college kids. And let me go out there and create a message early on in their voting life and influence them. He did a really good job at that. I'm saying good because he was successful at it. That's there's no way around
before
it.
this, I was looking at the Wikipedia page for like youth political groups, and like it was like 20 things that I had never heard of in my life, and then Turning Point USA, Turning Action USA, and like all the stuff that he had made.
Really?
And like the other stuff was like, I don't know, like YMCA political, I don't know, 2018, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going to throw up something else here where Derek said, and I thought I was trying to get this one earlier, but we had so many comments. I forget where this came in exactly, Derek, but it seems that one could consistently want it to be someone else because they think that it's immoral for someone like them to do it. It goes back to our discussion of why they can sort of overlook kids and things of this nature, but they can get behind this Charlie Kirk as if it's speaking for themselves.
Well,
it's
I
interesting.
think he's referring to what the governor was saying.
Is that? I can't remember where that came from. I can't remember where we were talking at the time.
The governor was saying that he's glad it wasn't. He was praying that it wasn't one of us.
Because again, that would make them immoral, right?
Yeah,
it would bleed over, right?
and they would have to own part of that.
Well, and we heard
Well, and
Nancy
see,
Mace say,
that's where the othering comes in. Across the spectrum, that's where the othering comes in. It's like, oh, men are so good. Well, what about these men that do these bad things? Oh, they're not a real man. That is a way to other them, so you actually don't have to do anything about it, and it doesn't connect back to you. That type of othering. Oh, I believe this with my faith and religion. Well, other religions believe that. So how do you know who's right? I'm right because they're not real Christians. They're other. And it's this level of othering. And there's never a time that I could think of where the person doing the othering, trying to set any group aside as not rising to meet everyone else, like purposely othering them, that was the good guys. As a matter of fact, in World War II, one of the guys that went down on the Titanic was a playwright, and he wrote a play, and it was about how, and it was the turning point of America, immigration, and all this other stuff in America. But I think it was Italians coming over. They weren't looked at the same way that the Americans that had been here for multiple generations, specifically of British backgrounds, come from. Something similar, but it was called the hyphenated American.
Oh, okay.
And it's that type of othering. It's not just an American. We have to call you something else. You can't just be an American. Yeah. So it's like that othering. That's why you don't want it to be someone like you. And that's why, oh God, what was that batshit crazy Nancy Mace coming out just swearing, and all these trans people,
trannies, and all this
other. It's a trans person. It's a brown person. It's a person that wants kids to get vaccines and not die of starvation.
Right.
God forbid. And they use woke to other. Yeah. Charlie Kirk, he was othering. He was talking about a Supreme Court Justice of the United States of America got that position because of DEI. Maybe it's because she finished college, you uneducated twit.
What is it? He's got that famous thing where he says, like if I'm boarding a plane and I find out that the pilot's black, I'm going to be like, whoa, I get it.
Exactly. And it's
maybe they got the job for DEI, and they couldn't possibly be qualified because saying,
yeah. So that's why they don't want it to be. That's why they don't want it to be someone like them.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw this one up from GNX. GNX is not on our side. But again, GNX. I'm gonna throw this one up because your very first part of this here. That's why you murdered Charlie Kirk. I didn't murder anybody, man. None of us murdered anybody, and this is part of the overall problem. I didn't murder anybody. Nobody on this call murdered anybody. Nobody in the comments murdered anybody. One kid murdered one guy. This tribalism, and we're all guilty of it. I'm not going to even pretend that I'm not guilty of it in different degrees. But the entire left didn't do anything. The entire right is not every. I mean, we've said on this call and other previous calls, almost everyone I know is a Christian. Everyone I've ever loved, for the most part, is a Christian. My grandmother, my mother, Rhett's grandmother, is a diehard Christian. I don't blame her for everything that's ever happened. I can separate the two. I might say that on occasion, but I don't mean it in the sense that I know she's a good person. The people I've loved, they're good people. Just because they're right-wing Republican Christians, I can't blame them for maybe. That would be disingenuous and just completely dishonest. So when you say you murdered, I'm going to assume you didn't mean it me specifically. I know you didn't mean me specifically, but stop with the we didn't do it as a group. And we didn't go to a meeting and collect and just voted this kid to go up on a roof. It's not what happened.
Even the idea that our ideology or something that we believe in or whatever somehow influenced him. I mean, I don't have any influence over Mormons or Utah or the Utah Gun Club or the electricians of Utah or the electrical engineering program at Utah State. I mean, the idea that it's just crazy.
Well, and that's Gen X's main. No, it's your ideology.
It's
No, it's
just
not
crazy.
our ideology. None of us have an ideology of murder. That is not an ideology. We have a philosophical point of view when it comes to religion or government or these various things.
I mean, again, you can see it in the response. Whenever this happened, Democrats condemn it. They say this is horrible, this is disgusting, you shouldn't murder people.
Every
And whenever it
politician
happens on the
came out
other
and said,
side, then
"This is terrible."
all the Republicans band together and they say this is
Right.
totally awesome. We should do this.
I didn't
more."
hear Obama saying, "Yeah, great, this is finally we've got the start of the war." I didn't hear that. I didn't hear anybody on the left saying anything like that. In fact, obviously, the one thing that Republicans, in terms of the political Republican machine, tend to hate about left is our willingness to get some sort of gun control.
Yeah.
Mr. Kirk
I
himself.
mean, that's been
had
the
a
attack
problem
for
with
years
that.
now, that we're all like soy and that we care
Yes.
too much. You have too many feelings. Right?
None of us have guns, and none of us have. And then at the same time, we're also starting a war. And now you're going to come to war with it. So stop it. It's ridiculous. Gen X. Again, by you, I mean you're right. Yeah, I think you said that twice, Gen X. But okay, okay. But I'm trying to read these comments as they come up, and I can't keep up with them. So if I miss your comment, it's only because they're coming fast and furious. There was something else I was going to hit with you guys. This martyrdom, though, where's this? I had this question up earlier. I've lost it now because some of this going on. Do you think the martyrdom is that unique to Christianity? And we kind of touched on this. We were saying that we don't have anybody on the left, like Destiny. Is martyrdom a specifically, uniquely Christian thing? Is that why they've instantly sort of elevated this guy to sainthood, or is it just tribalism and everybody needs someone to rally behind?
No, I think martyrdom's across the board.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody can use it as leverage to push their agenda. You get a martyr, and it's an opportunity to advance your cause.
And they promote him as a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a scarecrow.
They killed him because he was right, as the previous poster said. Winning the hearts and minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, they're going to say, oh, that's why they killed him. He's that, and they create this martyrdom. And I don't think it's at all restricted to Christian nationalism.
Okay. No, fair point. I just saw.
Can I bite into that comment by Chris
Yeah,
for a moment? We know exactly why that Hammer guy with Paul Pelosi did what he did. He told us extensively. It was because Trump told him that the election was rigged and that Nancy Pelosi was evil. He did it because Trump told him to. That's what he said over and over and over again, like relentlessly.
Yeah.
We don't have to speculate about his ideology. He told us exactly why he did it several times.
Right. And and we'll find out what this kid's thoughts were. I mean, we don't know anything really about this kid. Everybody's speculating based on pieces of information. We haven't heard from the kid yet. So we don't know why he did it. And we can probably all come to some level of assumptions, and they may be right or right adjacent in the sense that it's a little bit of that, a little bit of this, but we don't freaking know, and that's kind of my point earlier with that video. Everybody jumped to conclusions Wednesday. We know who shot who, and they already had a boogeyman, right, to rally behind. Kind of to Larry's point, I guess, we've created a martyr instantly without having any information, because that gives everybody the right, or they've emboldened them now to take whatever action they feel is justified, because we can say they did this.
Yeah, everybody has the same focal point all of a sudden.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up the Charlie Kirk thing because it went a little longer than I thought, but it's such a hot topic right now. I do want to find this. Where do you think this is going forward? And again, I'll read. What do you expect to happen going forward in terms of policy, public discourse, and political violence? What do you guys think? Where are we going tomorrow? Where are we going next year?
I don't think we're done. I think there'll be more attacks this coming year is an election year. I think there'll be more attempts. I think there'll be more foiled attempts, hopefully, if the FBI is still working properly. I just don't think we're done with it. I mean, the representative from Arizona a few years ago, she was shot on a campaign stop. Charlie Kirk isn't the first one.
No, not at all. No, we have a violent past. America isn't without. I just read this stat the other day, and you could do the math. It's like 1 out of 3 or 4 presidents have been shot at. I mean, we had 4 of them killed. Gerald Ford was shot at twice in 17 days. This isn't
Yeah.
new. I watch Hamilton like every month. It's a whole thing about political violence. I mean, this is how we started. This is where we are. So this isn't unique. Maybe the spread of ideology and it encourages more people to do things is unique because we have the internet where they didn't have that in the past. But this isn't particularly unique. So you think, Larry, that this is going to get better before it gets worse, or you think it's just going to kind of continue in the same general way that it is now?
I think it'll be much worse in the next couple of years.
Really?
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
That's scary.
I can't believe that we're not even a year into this Trump term.
Yeah, it's 8 months.
It's a long 8 months, man.
I've already said this a few times, but it ends with Trump. Whether that's him, finally denouncing the violence and taking a stand against it, or him dying in office. Until that point, then they're going to continue ratcheting it up the tension because that's the path that they've been on so far. That's what they keep doing.
Yeah.
I think we're a long, long way from like a for real civil war or anything like that. I think we're just going to continue to get these though, where it's like relatively disconnected acts of violence from online white men.
I'm with you. I don't see it reaching the level. Well, I don't see it reaching the level that I've been hearing people asking for. This war. I think it's easy to say, but that's a huge step. Civil unrest, as we've seen. Yes.
Although, if
war?
Trump said tomorrow that we need to kill all the liberals, then I know for a fact my grandparents would be the first ones to take up arms.
They're on the way to your house right now. You better watch out your window, man.
Absolutely.
And we love our grandparents. I love my mom and dad, and he loves his grandmother.
I just wish they would get off the internet.
Forever. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. And the good thing is you can guarantee they're not watching. So even when their favorite grandson is on this channel, they're not going to be watching you, man. Oh, man. All right, so we're going to wrap up with that with Charlie Kirk again.
I was going to not say anything at the end, but I can't not.
Go ahead.
I don't think the political violence is done. We've been in political violence for decades, and I think what just boggles my damn mind is if you look back and you look at in the United States, if you look back at victims of political violence, it has been disproportionately the more conservative traditionalist groups attacking those trying to stand up for the rights and privileges of minorities and other groups that are just shat on all of the time. I mean, you can go back and say, well, look at Reagan. That was a whole psychotic thing.
Yeah, he was insane.
All the way back through Vietnam, National Guardsmen at Kent State shooting students that were protesting.
That's a fear.
Violence. You never see liberal people going, oh, if I see a Klan rally on the side of the road, I'm going to drive through it. But good God, you let Florida pass a law saying if you feel for your safety when people are in the street, you can run over them. Conservative people come out of the woodwork to talk about mowing people down in their trucks. So it's
true.
just
it's
we're nowhere near the end of it. I honestly, it's going to get a lot worse than it gets better, in my opinion. But it's disproportionately. I would love to see actual lawmakers and influencers throughout history and which side of the aisle, whether they're the more conservative and trying to keep things from changing and those that are trying to make positive changes for some of our most vulnerable people, and see which one is the victim more often. And I just, that's all.
Said my piece.
I've said my piece.
I don't know if he's still here. He said, I like this guy while you were talking. I don't know if they're talking about you, but, I'll take it. I don't know.
It might be a response to Mike Turner.
It might be because I just happened to be Scott. I was like, I don't think you like Scott, because earlier they were like, Jesus loves you. Like, no, I don't think you and Scott are going to be really buddies. But thanks. He's still here. Jesus loves us. That's awesome. That's fantastic. We have, okay. You stumbled into the wrong group, but fine. Welcome. We do appreciate you being here. Hey, thanks for tuning in to today's show. I really hope you enjoyed it. Do me a favor and like and subscribe to the show and tell a friend. That helps us grow and it lets us keep bringing you more voices from the other side of belief. Until we talk again, be kind to one another and remember that reason and compassion go a long way.